Hello and welcome back. Today I am starting a new game called Stellar Horizons, an epic game of exploration and humanity's expansion into the solar system. So, looking forward to this one. I've played a game of it solo with one faction. Today I'm going to be starting today a campaign game with three factions, and basically, the high-level picture of the game here is we are starting off in the year 2030, and we're going to be exploring the solar system, getting tech from exploring different things around the solar system, and eventually sending humans and building bases out into the solar system. And at the end of the game, points are scored primarily based on colony sizes and fleet sizes and things of that nature. So that's the idea. The factions I'll be playing during this campaign are North America, Japan, and South America. South America, Africa, which I will probably mistakenly shorten to South America more often than not. So that's the plan. Each of the three factions plays a little bit differently. North America is going to be, at least the way I'm going to try to play it this game, to try to keep them all a little bit different. North America is going to be focused on like crew vehicle primarily, crewed vehicle exploration. Japan's going to be focused on robotic exploration, and South America is going to be focused on base building, I think. So we'll see. So I guess what that means, jumping into the game here and try to focus on what we're going to be exploring, I think we're going to see North America try to focus on biology primarily, and then engineering secondly. And then Japan and South America each are going to focus pretty heavily on engineering, whereas Japan also wants a little bit of physics, and South America will also want some biology. So as we go through the game, that'll be at least the early game. I think that's going to be the plan for both of the or all of the factions when they're picking which targets to go explore. I've already set the game up. Right now, you're looking at Mercury through Saturn. I've got the rest of the solar system in another scene. I will flip to them as needed. The way I've got the camera set up, I'm probably not going to be able to show too much in the way of the actual player boards, but when it comes time to show what builds I'm doing, I'll show those. And I've also put out each country's current mission out onto the board with their flag. So right now you can see that North America's got Phobos. I've got their flag there. Japan's got Uranus, and South America has Triton, so they're on the other board. And then the public mission is on Titan out at Saturn, and I'm using just a flipped over mission marker for that. And I need to check what's on the other side of that. That may need to get added to the pool when it comes time to pull. But so that's what is out there. Taking a look at what each faction has here on the board right now. Just to quickly run through, over at Mercury, Japan's got a flyby en route. North America has an orbiter at Venus. North America and Japan both have telescopes up right now in Earth orbit. Moving over to Mars, South America's got a rover, and North America's got a crewed vehicle inbound to Mars. Nothing going on in the asteroid belt, but South America and Japan both have robotic explorers on the way to both Jupiter and Saturn. And over here in the outer solar system, South America and North America both have some robotic explorers en route to the Kuiper Belt. And you can see that Japan and South America have their missions out here as well. So I think without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the first turn, which is year 2030. We skip the economics phase for the first decade. Right now the initiative order is North America, Japan, and South America. So I will figure out what they're all going to build and be right back with that. Alright, I've gone ahead and picked out what I'm building for each faction. I'm going to try to use this second camera here in the top right to show builds. I haven't played around with it too much, so if it's not turning out, I'll figure something else out. But the North Americans are building the rover and an LV-2. The rover is going to go out to Phobos, where their mission is at. And they're building an LV-2 because they do have reusable launch vehicles, so they are confident that they're going to try to keep that. Japan's building 2 orbiters. One is going to near-Earth asteroids for the engineering tech. The other is going to Mercury for the engineering tech. And an LV-1 to go with each. And South America's building their telescope and a flyby that's probably going to follow kind of what the Japanese flyby to Mercury is doing right now as well. I've went ahead and done all the mandatory moves, so all of the ships out there have already dropped down in their transfer boxes. Alright, first up for movement, in reverse initiative order is South America. The only thing they have are the things they just built. They don't have anything else that needs to move out there. So they'll go ahead and try to launch the telescope. They need a 5, or they need better than a 5. They got an 82, so that's no problem. And next they will launch their flyby and probe. 95, no problem. That flyby is heading off to Mercury. Earth is at 0, Mercury's -2, so it goes into the 2 box because that is the difference. And right now, North America's got 0.9 for their transfer modifier, but the other two are just at 1. So it's just a straight difference between the two numbers. Next up is Japan. They don't have anything to move out there on the board either, so they'll be launching their orbiter. They've got an orbiter with a 3 exploration value and an orbiter with a 2 exploration value. Both of them have spectrometers. They're going to send the 3 to near-Earth asteroids, so we'll roll for that. They get a 57, so that works. And typically I'll just kind of put them where they go, but for this example I'll just show. So they're launching here from Earth, and they're going to Moon, flyby around to near-Earth asteroids, and then there. Like I said, in the future I'll probably just place them basically where they need to go, but just to show how movement works a little bit there. Next up, they are going to launch their other orbiter towards Mercury. Both the Japanese mission and the South American mission is both of them are quite far away. Uranus is 9 years away, and Triton is 11. So I think they might try to get there at some point, but the odds of them actually being able to complete those missions this decade is slim. And so I will be just focusing on other things and not trying to go too far out of the way for those. So here's the other orbiter, 12, that's fine. So that's out at the Mercury 2 box as well. And then finally, North America, they do have their crewed vehicle that is in the flyby box over at Mars. So it is going to move, and it's going to go to the surface of Mars. North America wants biology technology, and they are also interested in seeing what they can do down on Mars. So their engine check is 5%. It's a crew vehicle too, so 5 minus 2 is 3. They need a better than a 3. You got 71, no problem. So that will move on down from here down to Mars. They're also sending their rover to Phobos. And they've got reusable launch technology, so if they do better than a 25, they get to keep the rocket. Rolled an 86, so they do get to keep that. And the rover is off to Mars. So Mars is a distance of 1. So it's just 1 year. They did use an LV2, so that would have helped them shorten that by a year, but you can't go less than 1 year. So that will be in the 1 box over at Mars. So that is where we currently stand after movement. After the movement phase is combat, but we don't have any combat now and probably won't have any for quite a while, so I'll just skip over that without mentioning it again until we get to combat. So after movement, the next thing that happens is exploration, and this happens in initiative order, so we will begin with North America. For exploration, I like to go in order from Mercury all the way out to Alpha Centauri, just to keep everything straight. So that is what I'll probably do here most often. If that happens to change, I'll obviously let you know, but I just like to go in that order, that way I don't forget anything. So that means for North America, their first thing will be the orbiter at Venus. It's got an exploration value of 1. Venus has a value of 6, so they need a 7 on the red die. Right now, North America and South America have robotic malfunction rate of 30%, and Japan's got 28. So They need better than a 30 to keep it, and they need a 7 or lower to get the exploration. So the red dice is the exploration, that's a 6, so they do get the exploration, and a 35 is rolled for malfunction, so it does not have a malfunction. Venus is a physics type, so I will pull one physics marker, and this one is a 2. And the way I do these, I just have bowls of each of the chips, and I'm just going to do blind draws each time it's time to do one of the draws for that. So because they got a 2, that's great, they got 2 points, but they need a 3 or better to get a depletion at Venus. And then a depletion is where you draw a world card to see if there's anything interesting there. You search for life, you get a politics marker, things like that. So they're happy with the 2 points, but 3 or more is really what you're looking for. All right, next for North America is their telescope at Earth. They are most interested in biology technology, at least for this first decade. So they're going to target Europa out at Jupiter. So we have the value at Europa because it's a space telescope from 7 down to 3.5, rounds up to 4, plus the 2 for the telescope, so that is 6. They need a 6 or better, and we'll go ahead and roll that. Then they got a 92, so no malfunction, and they got a 5, which is a successful exploration. And for biology, they pull a 1. Moving on to Mars, we've got our crew vehicle on Mars. They've got an exploration value of 5. Mars has a value of 6, so that's an 11. It's greater than 10, so if there's 10, they automatically get to get a marker. They don't have to roll for the actual exploration. Basically, you roll for fractions of 10. So since they're at 10, they get the 1 for free, and if they roll a 1, since they're at 11, they get another 1, so they can pull 2. And they have a mobile lab with that CV2, which means they get to roll 2 red dice and pick whichever one they want. North America and all of the factions right now have a crew vehicle recall rate of 50%. So if I roll a 50 or worse on the black dice, the crew vehicle will become reserved. It doesn't get destroyed, but it won't be able to do much else until it goes back to Earth and gets resupplied. So they're looking for a 1 on red dice and less than a 50 with the black dice, and that's exactly what they got. They got a 93 for the recall, so no recall, and they did get a 1 for the exploration, so they will get to pull 2 biology markers. The first one is a 1, and the second one is a 5. Now for a crew vehicle, you add up the sum of whatever markers you pull. If it's 3 or greater, you get the depletion. If it's a robotic vehicle, an individual marker has to be 3. And in the pool are 1s, 2s, 3s, and 5s. So they got 6 total there, which means that we will go through the steps for a depletion. They got a depletion on Mars. So the first thing that happens is we reduce the exploration value from 6 down to a 5. If there had been a mission there, we would complete the mission, but they don't have a mission there, so we're not doing that. Next up, we're drawing a world card. I just have a big bag of all the world cards, and I'm, again, doing a blind draw out of there. So I pulled M-class asteroid. Mars is a icy, rocky planet with low gravity. This requires a rocky with minimal gravity world, so this does not apply to Mars, so nothing there. Next up will be a search for life. Mars has a value of 12 for life, so 12 or lower, and they will find signs of life there. They roll a 3, so they did find signs of life. This is turning out to be quite the successful exploration. So when a faction finds signs of life like that, I need to add the marker to Mars. I'll do that in a moment. They earn 2 biology tech markers, so just pull 2 of them. We have a 3 and a 2, so they got 5 more points there for that. And they will earn a politics marker and a victory marker as well. So I will collect those, and I will put the signs of life marker on Mars. And then once that's done, the last step of any depletion is to get a politics marker, so they will get 2 total for finding the life, or finding the signs of life, and for having a depletion. I've added the marker to Mars. That also grants North America the Signs of Life technology on the biology tree, which will give them additional biology research during the economics phase, and they will be able to search for actual life anywhere that there are signs of life. So perhaps they'll find life next time they do exploration there on Mars. There's no other exploration right now for North America. The rover is still inbound to Mars, and their only other thing out here is the flyby right now that's 7 years away from the Kuiper Belt, and they are not going to do anything about that at the moment. Alright, so that's going to be a pretty tough act to follow, but next up is Japan. They are going to explore with their flyby out at Mercury right now. So Mercury has a value of 6, the flyby has a 3, so that's 9, but they are 1 year away, so we subtract 1 to go to 8. And then because all of Mercury is considered high radiation, we add 10 to the malfunction rate. So on a 38 or worse, it will be a malfunction, but on 8 or less, they will have an exploration. So they got a 10. Oh, I forgot to turn that on, sorry. They have a 10 for the exploration, so they did not perform an exploration, but they got an 88 for the malfunction, so no malfunction. Next up for Japan, they have their space telescope. They're going to point it out at Galatia, Larissa, Proteus. It's a moon out at Neptune. It's got an engineering value of 6 for its exploration. So space telescope halves that down to 3, and then add 2 for the telescope itself, so they need a 5. They get, I forgot to turn that on again, I'm sorry, I'll try to do better about that. They got the 5 for exploration, so they got that, and a 32, so no malfunction. The engineering marker they pull for that is a 2. Next up is the orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids. 3 plus 4 is 7, they need a 7. Got it with a 1 and 60, no malfunction. And the engineering draw is a 3, so there is a depletion there. So first thing to do is reduce the exploration value of near-Earth asteroids. Going to, there's no mission, so nothing to complete. I'm going to draw a world card out of the bag. They get mixed ice. So near-Earth asteroids are a rocky asteroid with minimal gravity. This requires icy, so that does not apply, so we'll put that back into the bag. Next up is their search for life. Near-Earth asteroids has a 3% chance for life. 44, nope. And Japan will grab a politics marker. The only things left for Japan are let's see here, they've got a rover out at Jupiter, and they've got a flyby at Saturn, but none of them will be doing anything yet. Yeah, I think that'll be it for them. So we will move on to South America. South America does have their flyby at Mercury, but they're going to wait. They're going to release the probe once they're at the flyby box for Mercury, so they don't have to roll for the malfunction check, and then they'll start using the flyby as it continues outward through the solar system. So I think first up for them will be their telescope. I think they're going to target Europa, so they need a 5. They got it with a 1 and no malfunction, and their biology draw is a 2. Next up is their rover on Mars. So that has an exploration value of 5. The planet has 5, so they don't actually need to roll. They are guaranteed to pull a biology marker, but they do still need to roll for malfunction. They roll a 99, no malfunction there. Their biology marker is a 1. And I think that might be it for them right now. They have a flyby at Jupiter in the 2 box. I think they're going to wait maybe 1 more year before they start using that. you can get more research out of the flybys if you start exploring, early on. But right now, everybody's got pretty high malfunction rate, and I don't think they want to chance it. They've also got their orbiter at Saturn, but orbiters cannot do anything until they're actually at the location. And they have their flyby at the Kuiper Belt right now, but it is still in the 5 box, and so I don't think they're going to do anything with that right now either. So that is it for exploration. Next up, we would produce with crew vehicles, but there's no mining happening. And much like the space combat, I'm just going to ignore that moving forward because it's going to be a while till we get to that. And then the last phase here is the trade and base construction, and we're not going to have any of that, at least for this decade. So I will just ignore that from now on as well. So that brings us to the end of 2030. We'll be moving on to 2031, and I'll be right back with that. Okay, for 2031, the build phase, the only thing anybody's building, North America is building an orbiter. I know I talked about going somewhat of a more crew-heavy approach for North America this game, and I do plan on doing that, but if they were to buy another CV2 right now, that would bring them down to $2 billion, and they wouldn't even have enough to launch another LV2 at that point if they needed to, if their launch vehicle was destroyed. So I think they're going to play it a little bit safer and just launch an orbiter, and its plan is to go out to Saturn and try to maybe get the Titan public mission. The other two factions, Japan and South America, are actually currently 4 above their robotic explorer limit right now. Each of them have a limit of 2, and each of them has 6 robotic explorers out there right now. So you cannot at any point go above 4 over your limit. So they're not going to build anything this turn. So that's it for building. Like I said, I will go ahead and do all of the mandatory moving, dropping down everybody in their transfer boxes. Alright, on to movement. First up is South America. I'm looking around the board. I don't think they have anything to move at this point. They don't have anything to launch, and everything is either still in a transfer box or is already where it's supposed to be. So I think that's it for them. Japan does have the flyby in the flyby box at Mercury, but that gets taken care of during the exploration phase, so no movement for them. And looking around, moving on to North America, they do have the launch that they want to do. They have the rover that has arrived to Mars, and they've got the crew vehicle on Mars. I think the crew vehicle on Mars is going to stay there and explore again, but we do need to launch their orbiter and move the rover. This is to launch their orbiter, and again it's heading out to Saturn. Roll a 76, so that is successful, and they keep their launch vehicle. Saturn is at +7 from Earth, so it would normally take 7 years, but with the tech that North America has, that will just take 6 years. And I used a rocket that is 1 size larger than necessary. You only need an LV-1 to launch robotic explorers. So it will go into the 5 box over at Saturn. And then next is the rover in the flyby box at Mars. It wants to move over to Phobos, so it needs to do an engine check. And a 75. So they will move from the flyby box, and they will move over to the moon. The moon of Mars, I should say. And that completes all of the movement out here, and we will move on to exploration. Starting with North America, their orbiter at Venus needs a 7. They get a 10 and a 90, so no exploration and no malfunction. Their space telescope will continue to target Europa, and they need a 6 for that. They get a 7, so again, no exploration, but no malfunction, so still nothing. Moving on to Mars, the crew vehicle there it has a value of 5, and then a 5 from Mars itself. So it's a 10, it's an automatic success, but they still need to roll for recall. They get a 99 on their recall roll, so no recall. and their biology marker that they're pulling is a 3. So we'll go through another depletion for that. So step 1 is to reduce the exploration value, so we'll move that on down to 4. Next up is to draw a world card, and I've pulled, good one, I've pulled subterranean water. So this, again, Mars is icy rocky, and this is for an icy planet or world, so this does apply. Subterranean water provides a lot of supplies later on when we get to production. It also gives a bonus to exploring with a spectrometer and a bonus to the search for life. So that will do quite nicely for Mars. They will be happy to keep that. After the world card is drawn, next we will search for life. Mars has a base value of 12, but now it's +5 for the subterranean water. So on a 17, they will find actual life, since signs of life is already there. They roll a 64. So no life at this point, but there are 4 more depletions at Mars that might yield life yet. And then after that, they will draw a politics marker. We'll move on to the rover at Phobos. It has a value of 4. Phobos has a value of 4, so North America is looking for an 8 here for their exploration. Roll a 9 and a 39, so no exploration, no malfunction. So we'll come back to that one next turn. They'll be eager to try to get the depletion there, since that is their mission. And then looking around at the board, I think that might be it for North America. They've got their orbiter quite a ways out from Saturn, and again, it's off camera at the moment, but their flyby at the Kuiper Belt is still 6 years away, so they're not going to do anything with that right now. So moving on to Japan, they have their flyby that has arrived at Mercury. They are going to explore Mercury. So 3 plus 6 there is equal to 9, so they need a 9. They get a 6 and a 17. So the 6 is a successful exploration, but the 17 is a failure. There's radiation there, so anything equal to or less than a 38 would have been a malfunction. So they're going to pull an engineering marker for the exploration, since that was successful, and they just pull a 1 for that. And then they pull another engineering marker for the malfunction, and that's a 3. So they would have liked to see that the other way around to get the depletion there on Mercury, but they'll take the 3 regardless. And we also need to remove the flyby from the board, as it has malfunctioned. Next up for Japan is their telescope at Earth. I think they're going to target deep space astronomy. They do want a little bit of physics research, so I think they're going to target that. Deep space is 9, halved to 4.5, rounds to 5, plus the 2, they need a 7. Get the 5 and an 83. Oh, sorry about that. They get the 5 and an 83, and that is an exploration and no malfunction. So picking a physics marker, they get a 3 for that. So they deplete deep space astronomy. I will go over there and mark that down to an 8 here momentarily. But before I do that, there's no world card to draw for deep space astronomy. It's not a place that can hold a world card, but there is a 5% chance of life over there. So we'll go ahead and roll for that. They get a 3. They have found signs of life in deep space astronomy as well. So I have a few markers to go add over there. Because they found signs of life, they also get to pull 2 biology markers, and they have pulled a 1 and a 2. So they've gotten some biology. They also get a politics marker, and I'll check the rules. I think they also get a victory point for that. So let me do a little bit of housekeeping here, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've depleted deep space astronomy down to 8. I've added signs of life. I gave them their victory point, their victory point. And then also politics marker, 1 for the depletion and 1 for the signs of life. Onto the orbiter at near-Earth asteroids, they need a 6. Get a 2 and a 65, so pull an engineering marker for that. That was a 1. Okay, and again, I see that I have not turned on the video for that. So they pulled a 1. We'll really try to do a better job of keeping the dice camera on, and when I'm rolling dice, that is the point of it. Let's see, Japan, the next thing they have is a rover out at Jupiter, but it can't do anything till it arrives at its destination. They also do have their flyby at Saturn. I think they're actually going to go ahead and risk it here. They're in the 3 box, so that cancels out the 3 of their own exploration value. They're going to target Titan, which is an 8, so they need an 8 or better, and they're hoping to get that public mission before anybody else does there. So here we go. I get a 10, so no exploration, and a 12, which is a malfunction. So that gamble did not pay off for them, but they will get an engineering marker for the malfunction, but it is just a 1. And that is all for Japan. And we move on to South America. Their first thing that's going to explore is the telescope. I think they're going to target Galatia Larissa Proteus, the moons of Neptune. It has an engineering value of 6, halved to 3. They need a 4, but they also really want engineering, so I think that's what they're going to go for. They got a 1 and a 96, so no failure, and they did get the exploration. It is, however, just a 1. Next up is the rover on Mars. They need a 9. There is a bonus to those with the spectrometer, but that rover does not have one. So they need a 9. They get a 6 and a 32, so they do get the exploration, no malfunction, and they pull a 1. Apparently North America has taken all of the high point value chits there for Mars at the moment, but hopefully they get some bigger ones here coming up soon. Their flyby out at Jupiter has an exploration value of 3. They're going to target the Trojans and the Greeks that have 5. So that's 8 minus 1 for the transfer box, so they need a 7. And a 10 and a 1. So no exploration and a malfunction. So pulling token for the malfunction, and it is a 1. Oh, the dice camera. Okay. I turned it off so that you could see the Trojans and the Greeks that they were looking at, but forgot to turn it back on, but they pulled a 1 for the engineering. And I think with that is the end of the exploration. They've got their orbiter coming into Saturn, and their flyby. Their flyby at the Kuiper Belt is in the 4 box right now. So they could start exploring, but I think they're going to wait till they're a little closer, getting a little bit of cold feet based on both the Japanese and South American flyby failures there from exploring maybe a little bit too early. So I think they're going to just stop right now, and that's going to be the end of 2031. Alright, at the beginning of 2032, the build phase, I've got the builds there. Hopefully you can see those. The North Americans are building a rover, and their plan for that is to send it to the moon. I think everybody's focus right now, at least early in the decade, is engineering. That was the focus for both Japan and South America to begin with. Japan's done pretty well with it, but South America needs more. And North America has none yet. They've gotten a lot of good biology, but they need some engineering. So the rover's going to go to the moon. That's the plan. And then Japan is building 2 flybys, one of which will have a probe. And they're going to be a pair of flybys going basically the same route. They're going to go out to Mercury, then come back through Earth and Mars and the asteroid belt to get as much engineering data as they can get. And the South Americans are going to do the same with their flyby. Mercury has a value of 6 for engineering, so they're hoping to all pull some tokens there for engineering. And also there's a good chance of malfunction there, so there's more engineering to be had. Anyway, so that is the plan. North America spent 5 billion, Japan spent 12, and South America spent 2. Also, I think I'm going to leave the video of the dice tray up. I'll probably end up moving Callisto and the Trojans and the Greeks just to get them out of the way. If I need to turn off the dice tray, I will, but I kept forgetting to turn it on the last few years, so I'm going to leave that on by default from now on. Alright, on to movement. Actually, before we move, mandatory moves. I will go ahead and drop everything down in their flyby boxes, and then be right back. Okay, mandatory moving has been done. Everything has been moved down in their transfer boxes. So first up is South America. The only thing they have at the moment is the flyby that they'd like to launch. They do have another flyby over at Mercury that we will take care of during the exploration phase. So, alright, here we go. Launching their flyby on an LV-1 to Mercury. They get a 32. That is a success. And Mercury is 2 years away. Next up is Japan. They have a few things here to move. They've got their orbiter at Mercury, so they are going to try to move into Mercury orbit. They get a 30, so they will move there. And then the other thing that they have is the rover that has arrived at Jupiter, and that will arrive, I think they're going to send it out to the Trojans and the Greeks. They really, really just need engineering this turn. That is their goal. So here's the engine check. 55, no problem. They also have their 2 flybys that they're launching, both towards Mercury, kind of a pair of probes here that they're going to be using to explore the solar system with. So first up, they're launching their the flyby that's got an exploration value of 2. Looks like the Tomita that's going to go by itself, so roll a 57, no problem. So that will head off here to Mercury. And then they also have a flyby with a value of 3 exploration, and that's going to go with the probe, same thing, and they get a 66, so no problem. They will head out there as well. We're really trying to get as much research over here at Mercury as possible. And then lastly, North America, the only thing they have to move is their rover that they're launching on their LV-2 that they have. So here we go. Roll an 83, the rocket is recovered, and they're sending this off to the moon. They've got a lot of good biology research right now from all of their work on Mars, but they do need some more engineering, so that's their plan with the rover. That is it for the movements, and we will move on to exploration. First up is North America. Their orbiter at Venus needs a 7. They get an 8 and a 3, so no successful exploration. They do have a malfunction, and they pull a 2. Their telescope is going to target Europa. That's going to be a 6. They get an 8 and a 35, no exploration and no malfunction. The rover that we just put on the moon, that needs a 9. They got a 1 and a 47, so that is exploration, no malfunction. And they pull a 1. Heading over to Mars, the crew vehicle now needs a 9. They get the 2 dice because they've got the lab. They did get the exploration, so we'll pull a biology marker for that. They get a 2. And then they also get another biology marker because a 35 is a recall, so we'll flip over that crewed vehicle, and they pull a 1. And then moving on to their rover on Phobos, that is going to require an 8. So here we go. Got a 5 and a 32, so that is successful, no malfunction. They pull a 2. That is all for North America. Moving on to Japan, they've got their orbiter at Mercury. I think they'll wait for those flybys for at least another turn. But they do have the orbiter. That orbiter needs an 8. So here we go. You get a 2 and a 40. So Japan actually has a malfunction rate of 28, which is 38 in high radiation. So they're okay with that 40. And the 2 is an exploration. And they pull a 3. So we will go through that depletion. Okay, so first up, we reduced the exploration from 6 to a 5. There was no mission here. We draw a world card. Now it does have a spectrometer, so we get to draw 2 of them. Mars is a rocky planet, and I pulled, let's see if I can get these on camera. We've got a cratered surface for rocky and icy worlds and a volatile atmosphere. So volatile atmosphere does not apply, but the cratered surface does, so we will apply that. Search for life on Mercury is 2%. Roll a 95, no life. And finally, they pull a politics marker. Next is the telescope. They're going to keep going for deep space astronomy there, since they had found signs of life. They need a 6. They get a 3 and a 10. So it is an exploration, and it is a malfunction. So for the exploration, they pull a 3. And for the malfunction, they pull a 2. So we'll go through another depletion here. I've reduced it down to 7. Got rid of the telescope. No world card. Search for life. 5%. Get a 16. No. And they draw a politics marker for that. They're having a pretty good exploration turn so far. Let's see if they can keep it up with the orbiter that's currently at the near-Earth asteroids. Need a 6. Get a 1 and a 39, so no malfunction, and they do get the exploration, and they get another 3. They are on a roll here. I've flipped it over to a 2 at the near-Earth asteroids. We've got a spectrometer, so we get to pull 2 of them. I'm going to shuffle them up here real well. 2 world cards, I should say. And we've got, okay, I shuffled them, and yet I got the exact same one for both of them. C-class asteroid. Needs a minimal gravity world, which this is, and this helps exploration of orbiters and flybys, and is pretty good overall. It's not. I don't think it's probably the best asteroid world card out there, but that will certainly do for now. And then we will search for life, which is 3%. Get a 54, and they will get another politics marker for that. This is going real well for Japan so far. I feel like this is probably what they need to do. I think they need to jump out and try to get as much engineering tech as they can early on, and then try to hold on to that tech lead, at least in engineering, and then catch up in the other 2 trees later on. So I think they're doing what they need to be doing right now. Lastly for them is their rover over at the Trojans and Greeks over at Jupiter. They're going to use the probe. The probe has a 9, and Trojans and Greeks have a 5, so automatically get 1 marker, and on a 4 they will get another one. And there's no malfunction with the probe. They did not get the extra engineering marker, so they will just pull 1. And they pull they pull a 5. They are really doing well here. So I will go through yet another depletion for that. The probe is expended. I've reduced the world down to 4. Just pull 1 world card. There was no spectrometer there. And we've got Maria, which is for rocky worlds. Let me check to see what the Trojans and the Greeks are. It is icy and rocky, so this does apply. So the bonus on it is exploration +4 for rover. So everything that could be going correctly right now for Japan seems to be going correctly for them. So that will really help them continue to explore with the rover that is right there, already there at that location. So then they need to do a check for life. The chance there is 4%, 46, no life, and another politics marker. And that is it for Japan. They have had quite a year here for exploration. They are already up to 24 engineering tech points, so they're doing quite well with that. And then we'll move on to South America. First up for them will be the probe that they have at Mercury. So we'll go ahead and do that. They automatically get 1 marker because they're at a 14. So on a 4, they will pull another one. Get a 2. They get 2 engineering markers for that probe. Let's pull the 2 here. They get 2 1s. Apparently Japan has already taken all of the high-valued ones there. So that probe is expended. Their telescope will target Europa for the biology. They need a 5. They get a 3. No malfunction. So here's their... They get a 2 for biology. Their rover on Mars needs a 9. Get it with a 7, but it is a malfunction. So their biology pull is a 1. They've definitely gotten the worse end of the draws here for the tech markers. And then for the malfunction, they pull another 1. This must just mean that they're going to have really good luck later on. That's all this can mean here. And I think that's going to be it for them right now as well. They do have their orbiter coming into Saturn next year. And they have their flyby in the 3 transfer box at the Kuiper Belt. I think they're going to wait at least 1 more year. The flyby, again, only has a value of 1, so they really want to make sure they get some value out of it. So I think they'll wait 1 more year. Oh, and I do see that the flyby at Mercury does need to move. It can't sit there, so I need to roll an engine check. I get a 79, so it is going to move off to... it needs to go up. Basically, it needs to go further away from the sun each time it moves. It could go to Venus. They don't really care too much about physics research right now, so I think they're going to just skip that and just go right on back to Earth. And then probably get engineering research from either the moon or the near-Earth asteroids when it gets there. So with that, that is the end of 2032. Moving on to 2033, the build phase. Also, sorry about the audio issues during the last year. I did not realize it was doing that. I think I have fixed that, so sorry about that. So Japan is spending the last of their $5 billion to get their telescope back up, and South America is going to spend $5 billion to get an orbiter up, and they're going to send it out to the asteroid belt. North America has got $5 billion left, and they're not going to do anything with it at the moment. They're going to have to spend $2 billion to restock their crewed vehicle when it gets back to Earth, and then they want to keep the other 3 just in case something happens to their launch vehicle, I think. I'm not sure yet, but they're not going to spend anything this build phase. Okay, all of the mandatory movement has been done with dropping down in the transfer boxes. South America is going to launch their orbiter. They're going to launch it on an LV-1, and they get a 44, so that is successful. It's 3 years out to the asteroid belt, so that's where they have gone. They also have their orbiter at Saturn, and it's going to move into Saturn orbit with a 53. So we'll go ahead and move that just out over there. That is it for South America. The only movement for Japan is to get their telescope up into orbit. 89, no problem. And North America is going to bring their crew vehicle back to Earth so that they can resupply it. They get a 10, which is enough. And so they will move back. They will go to the 1 box here for Earth. And that is it for moving. Exploration. North America will target Europa with their telescope. They need, what do they need? They need a 6. Is that right? Yes, 6. They get a 9 and a 92, so nothing happens there. The rover on the moon needs a 9. Get a 6 and a 57, so that is a success. And they pull a 1. Next up is their rover on Phobos, needing an 8. Get a 6 and a 17, so that is a success but a malfunction. So for the exploration is a 2, and then for the malfunction is a 1. So they lose their rover, and they have not yet completed their mission. That's it for North America. Japan is going to use their orbiter at Mercury. Needs a 7. Got an 8 and a 74. Nothing happens there. I don't think that they are going to do anything else with anything they have at Mercury. I think they're going to wait till they're in the flyby box to do that. They're going to keep targeting deep space astronomy with their telescope, needing a 6. They get a 6, but they also get a 2, so that is a success, but also a malfunction. Yep, I just wanted to check my math. 6 is fine for that because it's 3.5 rounds to 4 plus the 2, that goes to 6. They pull a 2, so no depletion. And then they pull an engineering one for the failure of the telescope, and that is another 2. Next up, the orbiter at near-Earth asteroids. They need a 6 based on the exploration bonus from the world card. They get a 2 and an 89, so that's good. And they pull another 2. And lastly for Japan is their rover over at the Trojans and Greeks. 5 plus 4 plus 4 for the world card, so they need a 3 or less to get 2. They get a 4 and a 93, so no malfunction, no extra engineering marker. But they do pull, I got one of them here, and it is a 1. On to South America. I think they also will not do anything with the flybys at Mercury. I'm just a little nervous about Mercury with that 10% radiation penalty there. So they're going to go to the telescope at Earth. It's going to target the Galatia, Larissa, Proteus moons of Neptune. It has a 6 engineering value, so they need a 4. They get a 7 and a 7, so no exploration, and it is a malfunction. They pull a 2. This is their first engineering marker that is not a 1, so that's something. But they did just lose their telescope. They do have a flyby here at Earth, and I think they will go ahead. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I think they'll go ahead and target the moon with that flyby. So 4 for the moon plus 2 for the probe, or for the flyby is 6 minus 1 for their transfer box. They need a 5. They get a 7 and a 50, so nothing happens there. Their orbiter at the asteroid belt is still on the way. They have an orbiter at Saturn. It's going to target Titan. Titan has a value of 8. The orbiter has a 1, but it's not targeting the system it's orbiting, so minus 1. So they need an 8 for that. They get the 8 and a 37, so no malfunction. They do get a biology marker, and that biology marker is a 2. So they will. They're trying to get that public mission out there at Titan. That is their goal. All right, and I think they're going to use their flyby out here at the Kuiper Belt. Right now, that flyby is a value of 1, but it's 2 away from the Kuiper Belt, so it's actually at minus 1, but they're going to target Pluto that has an 8, so they need a 7. They get it with a 7, no failure, so they do get a physics marker for that, and they pull a 1. And with that, that concludes the exploration, and that is the end of 2033. Moving on now to 2034, the build phase. Only thing anybody is building right now is South America. They're going to build a rover and an LV-1 to launch that. They are intending to send that off to the asteroid belt for engineering research. Japan has no money left, and North America doesn't have that much money. They need $2 billion of their $5 billion right now to resupply their crew vehicle when that comes in, and I'm not sure yet what they're doing with the remaining 3. On to movement. Mandatory moves have been done. Everything has been dropped down as required. Starting with South America, they're going to try to launch their rover on an LV-1. Get a 53, no problem at all. And that will take 3 years right now to get out to the asteroid belt. So they've got a few things en route there to the asteroid belt, hoping to get some more engineering research than they currently have. We've got several flybys out and about that need to move, but that will happen again during the exploration phase. The only thing left for anybody to move at this point is for North America to move their CV-2 back to Earth, so they need an engine check. So here we go. Get a 38, and they will move on back to Earth. So on to exploration, starting with North America. Their telescope in Earth orbit will target the same engineering target that we've been targeting before out at Neptune, the moons of Galatia, Larissa, and Proteus. It's got a 6, so halved to 3, they need a 5. They get the 5, and there's no malfunction, so drawing a token for them, and it is a 2. The rover on the moon needs 9. Got an 8 and a 40, no problem. And they're drawing, they got a 3. So we've got a depletion on the moon. Reducing the exploration down to 3. No mission here. We'll draw a world card. There is no spectrometer on that rover. So they pull this one here, which is mixed ice for an icy world, but the moon is a rocky moon, so that does not apply. A 2% chance for life, got a 65, nope, and they will get a politics marker. The only thing left for North America is their flyby out at the Kuiper Belt. They're in the 3 box. They are a 3, so those cancel out. They're going to target Pluto, so they need an 8. They get a 10 and a 69, so nothing happens. Next up is Japan. They've got 3 things at Mercury right now to explore with. They've got their orbiter. They'll start there. 2 plus 5. They need a 7. They get a 1 and an 83, so that will be an engineering token. Just the 1 for the orbiter. Next up will be the probe that is attached to the flyby. That's a 9 plus a 5, so 14. 2, they get 2 engineering markers for that. And those are 2 2s. So no depletion, even though they are greater than 3. Together, for a robotic probe, robotic spacecraft, you need a single marker to be 3 or greater. And so the probe has been used up, discarded. The flyby is going to do an engine check to move on. They get a 45. They're going to move over to Earth. And lastly, the other flyby is a 2, so they need a 7. Got it with a 3. 42 is okay, even with the radiation. So it's another engineering marker. And it's another 2. So they didn't get any depletions there, but they did get quite a bit of tech, so that's pretty good for them. And rolling for the engine check here, they get a 77. They're moving off to Earth as well. They've got the orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids. 3 plus 2 plus 1 needs a 6. Got it with a 4 and no malfunction. That gives them another 2. And lastly for Japan is their rover over at the Trojans and Greeks. So they are 5 plus 4 plus a 4 for the bonus on the world card, so they've got 13. They get a 10 and a 61, so just 1 engineering pull, but no malfunction. And they pull a 5 for that one. So we'll go through that depletion. I've reduced the exploration down to 3. No mission there. I need to draw a world card. There's no spectrometer there, so just pulling 1. Try to really shuffle these up here. And they pull volatile atmosphere, so that's for severe atmosphere worlds, so that will not apply. So they'll just keep that. And then a search for life. I'll roll the dice to see if it even matters. 52, I know that's not going to be life. I forget what the number on there is. Let me check. 4%, so nowhere near. And then they get a politics marker. So right now, the way the politics markers look, North America has 4. South America does not have any yet, and Japan has 8. So they're doing quite well with depletions. They've really decided to flood the solar system with robotic explorers, and that has paid off for them quite well so far. And then we'll move on to South America here. Starting with a flyby at Mercury, needs an 8. Get a 9 and a 90, so nothing. They'll need to do an engine check to see if they move on to Earth. 71, yep, so they'll move on to Earth. Their flyby at Earth is going to explore the moon, needs a 5. Rolled a 5, but they also rolled a 10, so they do get the exploration, but they have a malfunction. The exploration value is a 2. And the malfunction value is a 5. So they would have liked to see that in the other order, but they're happy to get the tech points there for that. So I'll remove that from the board. There's only 1 engineering tech marker left in this little bucket here, so we'll have to collect everybody's pretty soon and add them up on the board. Their orbiter and rover are still inbound to the asteroid belt, so that takes us to the orbiter at Saturn. It's going to target Titan. We need an 8 here. got a 9 and a 43, so still no luck with Titan there. And their flyby at the Kuiper Belt is going to target Pluto, and they need an 8. They get the 4 and an 88, so that is a success, no malfunction. And a physics marker is a 1. And that is it for exploration, and that is it for 2034. Moving on to 2035 build phase, the only thing being bought by anybody here is the resupply of the CV2 for North America. It's going to cost $2 billion. They've got $3 billion left. If they're able to recover their LV2 this turn, they'll probably build something else and launch it again. If not, then we'll see what they do, but that's the idea. Mandatory movement has been completed. Everything has been moved down. There's nothing to move right now with the exception of that North American crewed vessel. And I think their goal is to head out to Phobos and Deimos right now and try to finish their mission. So we'll roll for that launch. Get an 85, so they've successfully taken off and recovered their launch vehicle. And they'll head out to Mars here in the 1 box. That is it for movement. Everything else is either where it's at or still, or it's where it's supposed to be, or it's on the way. Alright, exploration. North America is going to target deep space astronomy, see if they can find life there. They need a 6, 9, and a 15, so no exploration, and they do have a malfunction. For the malfunction, they draw the last remaining engineering token, which is a 1. So I'll go ahead and pause here for a moment, collect them all back up. I think you might not, I'd have to check. You might not actually do this until you have to draw one, and there's not one to draw, but I know there's going to be more later on, so I'm going to just go ahead and do this now. So after adding up everybody's engineering, the current standings are, or the current values are at 15 for North America, 43 for Japan, and 14 for South America. So Japan has really jumped out. They're going to be able to grab a lot of engineering tech, I think, coming up in the economics phase. So we'll move on to the moon, the rover on the moon for the North Americans. They need an 8. We got a 1 and a 63, so we'll pull from our freshly resupplied engineering pile here, and it is a 2. The only thing left for North America right now is their flyby in the Kuiper Belt, so targeting Pluto again, and they need a 9. They got it with a 1, no malfunction. That is a physics, and that is a 1. Moving on now to Japan, their orbiter at Mercury needs a 7. Got the 7, no malfunction, and they get a 2. Alright, I think they'll go ahead and try to explore the moon with their 2 flyby in the 1 box right now, so they'll need a 4 for that. They got a 7 and an 81, so nothing happens. And they'll do the same with their other flyby there, but this one needs a 5. I got the 2, so they did get the exploration, but they also have a malfunction with a 3. So here's for the exploration, that is a 3. And then for the malfunction, that is a 2. So we got a depletion on the moon. I've reduced it down to a 2. That flyby does have a spectrometer, so we'll pull 2 world cards for the moon. It is a rocky moon, so let me get both of them up here. Only one of them looks like it applies, so we've got silicate rocks. See if I can see that there. There we go. Silicate rocks, which is for a rocky world, and S-class asteroid for a minimal gravity. So can't do the S-class asteroid, but we can do the silicate rocks. We might as well. It's not that great of a card, but it's better than no card. So we will add that to the moon for now and see if maybe there can be a better one in the future. Life check of 2%. Nope. And they will get a politics marker. The orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids needs a 6. Got it with a 5 and a 50, so that is success. And their engineering marker is a 1. Lastly, for Japan is their rover over in the Jupiter system. They need a 12. I got a 4 and a 13. It is a malfunction. They only get one exploration marker. So here's for the exploration is a 2. And for the malfunction, that is a 5. Big one. Would have liked that in the other order, but 5 is always nice to see. So that's all for Japan right now. They've certainly gotten a lot of research. They are quickly running out of explorers, though, this decade. Moving on now to South America, they've got their flyby. They're going to target the near-Earth asteroids. That will be a 5 that they need. They get a 10 and an 89, so nothing there. The asteroid belt has 2 things inbound, but nothing there quite yet. They do have their orbiter at Saturn. They're going to keep trying for that Titan mission. Needing an 8. Get it with a 3, but it is a malfunction, so this is their last chance to pull a depletion here for Titan, and they get a 1. So nope, not happening right now. They do get to pull their engineering one for the depletion or the malfunction, and that is a 3. That is the first 3 they have seen so far, if I recall correctly. Oh no, they got a 5 earlier for a malfunction. And the last thing to take care of is the flyby here at the Kuiper Belt. It has now arrived. So targeting Pluto, they need a 9. Get it? So they get a physics marker for that, which is a 2. And then they will roll an engine check to see if they move on. 80. Yep, so they will move on to the scattered disk. I'll move that in just a second. That's 3 years away, so they will be going to the 3 box out there. And with that, that concludes 2035. All right, on to 2036. The only faction with any money left at all is North America. They've got $3 billion, and they're going to spend it on an orbiter and a probe. And that's it. That's it for the builds. So I'll go through, do the mandatory movement, and we'll be back with movement. Quite a few things have arrived at their destinations here this year. A lot of flybys, but we'll start with South America at the main asteroid belt with their orbiter. It's going to just move into orbit around the main asteroid belt. Get to 54, so they will move. Japan has nothing to move, so we'll move on to North America. North America is going to launch their orbiter that they just bought. And the plan for that is to go to Mars. They launch it. They have an LV-2. That's the only rocket they have. They get a 60, so they get to reuse that. And the orbiter and probe will head off to Mars. It will take them 1 year. North America also has their crew vehicle. It's going to go over to Phobos. They're going to try to do that mission. Engine check. It's a 65, so that's fine. And they will move on over to the moons of Mars. They also have their orbiter at Saturn, and it will attempt to just move into Saturn orbit on a 97, so that will move no problem. And that is it for the movement. So moving on to exploration. North America has their rover on the moon needing a 7. And they get the 7 and a 39, so that's fine. Engineering marker they pull is a 2. Next, their crew vehicle on Phobos needs a 9. And they get it barely, but they did get a recall with a 5. So they'll pull the engineering marker for the exploration. That's a 1. And then they will also pull a biology marker for the recall. And that is a 2. They'll use their orbiter at Saturn to target Titan for the mission. They need a 9 there. They get a 10, so nothing, and no malfunction, so nothing there. And their flyby here at the Kuiper Belt will target Pluto. It's automatic, so just rolling for malfunction. 60, no malfunction. And so they get a physics, which is a 2. That is it for North America. Japan, orbiter at Mercury, needs a 7. Got the 8 and a 61. So, excuse me, so nothing happens there. The flyby at Earth will target the moon, needs a 4 for that. Get a 9 and a 60, so nothing. Rolling for an engine check so it can move on. Gets a 15, that's fine. And it will move on to Mars. The orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids needs a 6. They get the 2 and a 51, so that's good. An engineering marker, and they get a 1. That's everything for Japan. Next up is South America. Their flyby at Earth will target the near-Earth asteroids. That needs a 6. There's that +1 for the bonus there on the world card, but they get a 7, so nothing there. They've got their orbiter at the main asteroid belt. It's just going to target the main asteroid belt, and they will need a 7 there. They get a 1 and an 18, so yes, success, and then malfunction. So the success is a 1, and the malfunction is another 1. South America has had really bad luck this decade pulling really any of the markers. I don't think they've gotten a single depletion yet. And actually, I know that to be true. They don't have any politics markers in front of them. So hopefully that'll turn around for them soon. Their flyby out here at the scattered disk is going to target Eris. That would be a 10 normally, but they're 2 years away, so they need an 8. They get a 6 and an 11, so they get the physics and the engineering for the malfunction. So the physics is a 2, and the engineering is a 1. And that flyby has been removed from the board. And that is it for 2036. One thing I forgot to do was move the flyby at Earth for South America. So here's their engine check. They get a 7, low, but that's okay. And so they'll move on to Mars as well. So for 2037, nobody's got any cash left, so nobody's built anything. I've gone ahead and moved everything down in their transfer boxes, and we'll move right on to movement. South America has their rover at the asteroid belt, and they're going to just move right over into the main asteroid belt with that. Get a 22, so they will move. And the only other thing for anybody to move is the orbiter and probe for North America. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do with the orbiter for the North Americans. Either move it to Mars or Phobos Deimos. They would like biology research. They would also like to get that mission. So I think what they're going to do is keep it at Mars. They're going to use the probe on Mars, and then they're going to scan Phobos from the orbiter at Mars. So they're going to move into Martian orbit on a 71. And then the other thing that we need to take care of is the crew vehicle that's currently on Phobos that needs to move back to Earth. So rolling for an engine check, 13, so they will move back to Earth. Exploration, North America, rover on the moon, needing a 7. They get a 10 and an 84, so nothing again. The probe at Mars needs a 3 to get a second one. Nope, just the 1. So they'll pull 1 biology, and that is a 2. And that probe is discarded. The orbiter at Saturn will target Titan again, needing a 9. They get a 10 and 92, so nothing there. And lastly, the flyby here at the Kuiper Belt needs an 11 for Pluto. They get a 10 and a 37, so that's just going to be 1 physics chit, and it dropped on the floor. Oh, and it's a 5. It's a big one. So they get a 5, so we'll go through that depletion. Okay, I've depleted it down to 7. Pluto is an icy dwarf planet, so they pull, the world card they pulled is volatile atmosphere, so that's not going to apply. And we'll do a life check, 5%, a 14, no. That gives North America a politics marker, and they will roll to move on to the scattered disk, 52. So they will move on, and they'll be in the 3 box out there. All right, Japan's orbiter at Mercury needing a 7. Gets a 2 and a 75, so that is a success, and they are pulling an engineering chit, and that's a 2. Next up is their orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids. They need a 6. They got the 6 and an 86, so another success for them. And that's a 5. They pull a 5. Depleted that down to a 1. We've got a spectrometer here, so we'll pull 2 different world cards. And near-Earth asteroids are rocky moons. So we've got 2 that apply here. We've got S-class asteroid, which is minimal gravity, and impact basin, which is, it applies to rocky. Let me take a look at them. I don't think I'm going to change to either of them, but let me take a look and think about that. Yeah, I take that back. I think I will actually change it to the S-class asteroid. It's got better ore production at 3, and the bonus at near-Earth asteroids is +2. So that'll be a little bit better for ore production if anybody goes there to build a base. And it also gives a +2 bonus for spectrometer, which will help them get that final depletion later on. The life check there is 3%. 19, nope. And they get a politics marker. The flyby at Mars targeting Phobos Deimos needs a 6. They get a 5, so that's a success. And they pull a 3. So again, Japan's luck continues here with getting depletions. We'll go through that. Depleted it down to 3, drawing a world card. This one does not have a spectrometer, and they pull mixed ice. And Phobos is a rocky moon, so that does not apply. Next up is the search for life. It's at 2%. 59, nope. And a politics marker for them. Engine check for them, 85, so they'll move on to the asteroid belt. On to South America, their flyby at Mars will also target Phobos Deimos, needing a 6. They got a 4 and a 60, so that's fine. And that's going to be a 2. And we'll roll an engine check for them to move on. 95, that works. And the rover on Mars is automatic, or on the asteroid belt, I should say, is automatic at 10, but need to roll for malfunction. 100, so they are okay. And pulling for the exploration, that is a 2. Still no depletion, but at least a few 2s. That's better than the 1s that they have been getting. And with that, that is it for exploration, and that is it for 2037. Alright, 2038, nobody's buying anything. I've done all the mandatory moves, so we'll get right into the movement here. The only movement I see out on the board this turn is the crew vehicle for the North Americans, so they're just going to roll to move that back to Earth. They get a 66, so they will return that to Earth. They don't have any money to resupply that this decade, so they'll have to wait till the economics phase, but they'll just come on back to be ready at 2040. So with that, on to exploration. The North American rover on the moon needs a 7. Here we go. I got a 6 and a 92. That is a success. And they get a 1. The orbiter at Mars they'll need a 3 to target Phobos as opposed to a 5 at Mars. Neither of them are really that great. They would really like to get more, I don't know, they really want to finish that mission, but I think they're going to go for Mars just because it's a better chance. So they're going to roll, needing a 5. They got a 10, so it doesn't matter. And they got a 27, which is a failure. So they're going to get their engineering tech anyway. And that is a 2. The orbiter will continue to target Titan, the one that's out there at Saturn, needing a 9. Alright, they got a 6 this time, but it is a failure. So they are pulling for biology for Titan exploration, and that is just a 1. And then they're pulling for engineering for the malfunction, and that is, dropped it here, but that is a 3. And lastly, for them, their flyby out here at the scatter disk will target Eris. It is automatic, just needing the malfunction roll. Nope, no malfunction. So they will pull a physics marker, and it is a 1. All right, Japan, their orbiter at Mercury needs a 7. Got a 9 and a 49, so nothing happens there. Their orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids needs a 6. They get a 9 and a 44, so nothing happens there. And lastly for them, their flyby at the main asteroid belt will just target the asteroid belt itself, and they need a 6 because they are 1 year away. They get a 7, so nothing happens there. Alright, in South America, all they have right now are their 2 things at the asteroid belt. And they're going to do the flyby first. That's 3 plus 5 is 8, minus 1 for the being 1 year away, so they need a 7. Got the 7, but it is a malfunction, so they will pull for the exploration, which is a 2. And then they will pull for the malfunction, which is a 5. I think that's the second time they've done that. They've pulled a 5 for the malfunction. So, again, happy to see the 5, but would like to see it during a depletion. And then the rover that's at the main asteroid belt is automatic, needs a 10, and I just rolled one of them outside the box. And they get a 48, so that is fine. And I'll pull their engineering chit. Hey, it's a 3. They got their first depletion of the decade. All right, so we'll go through that here for them. All right, the belt's been depleted down to 4, pulling a world card. The belt is rocky asteroids, and I pull helium-3, so that's not going to work here for that. Life check at the asteroid belt is a 3, so we'll roll for that. Got a 11, so nope. And then they will get a politics marker, their first one of the decade. Okay, and that closes out 2038. 2039 should be a pretty short year, nothing to build, nothing to move. The North Americans have their rover on the moon to explore. That needs a 7. They get a 6 and a 21, so we'll pull one for the exploration. That is a 1. And then we will pull one for the malfunction, which is a, if I can find it here, is another 1. And their flyby at the scatter disk will target Eris, needs an 11, 66. So that is a, they get their 1 automatic one, but they don't get the bonus one, and it is not a failure, and they pull a 2. Alright, Japan's orbiter at Mercury, needing a 7. They get a 6 and a 91, so that is a success. And they pull a 2 for their engineering. Their orbiter at the near-Earth asteroids needs a 6. A 1 and a 64, so that's another success. And they pull another 2. And their flyby at the main belt will target the main belt, needing a 6. Get a 7 and a 46, so nothing there. And then they'll do an engineering check to move on. I said engineering check, but my engine check. Engine check is 87, so that's good. They'll move on to Jupiter. And that is a difference of 2, so that'll take 2 years. Alright, and then the last thing for the decade is for South America's rover at the main belt, needing a 9. Got the 4 and a 93, so that is a success. And they will pull just a 1 for the exploration there. Okay, so that is it for exploration for 2039, and that is it for the decade. So we will move into the economics phase of 2040s next. All right, economics phase for 2040. The first thing that we have is to collect politics markers. So that's going to be 2 for everybody. And then South America gets an extra 1 based on their policy that they've taken. And I'll show the policy tree when we get to that step at the end of the phase. So the way the politics markers look right now, we're at 7 for North America, we're at 13 for Japan, and 4 for South America. Next up is to roll for an event. So we roll D100 here. we get a 73. 73 is a survey error, so we're going to roll percentiles to select a world and draw a world card. If a world card can apply, it replaces whatever is already there. So we'll roll the dice, and we get a 5. 5 is Venus. You can see 5 to 7 here. So we'll just, it doesn't have a world card right now, so we will just pull a world card, and we get ridged terrain, which applies to rocky or icy worlds, so that does apply. Venus is a rocky volcanic planet, and so that'll give them a little bit of bonus to crewed exploration, though that will be a while off because of the atmosphere there. Okay, next up is the initiative step. So I don't think anybody's going to use any politics markers to increase their roll here, so we're just going to do a straight roll off between the three. So North America gets a 100. Japan gets a 67. And South America gets a 8. So the initiative order will stay the same, no changes there. Diplomacy step. First we would roll to see if any of the foreign relations change back to neutral for any given country. But because nobody is anywhere but neutral right now, we'll just ignore that for the first turn here. And now we can attempt to modify foreign relations. Okay, and then for attempting to modify foreign relations, I think each faction will just try to increase their relation with a NPC faction, just to kind of do that as an example and try to get a little bit more income. So I think South America will try to increase theirs with China. So on a 6, so just need one dice here. On a 6 or less, that will increase 10. Nope. And this will be one politics marker for each of them. Japan will try to increase their relation with Russia. 5, so that does happen. And North America will try to increase theirs with Europe. 9, nope. So the only one there was Japan increasing their relationship with Russia. It's tough right now because there are no bases out there. There's no non-player faction bases out there. So it's hard to know who to increase relation with. If a particular faction had bases out there, everybody would probably be trying to increase relations with them to get better trade deals. Okay, next up is production. So for money, and let me actually, I think I'll try to show this here on the player boards. So for production, the way it works is you take the decade that we're in here, we're in the 30s or beyond, but we're not to the 60s yet, so we're at $30 billion base, and then we add a few different modifiers to it. We look at our policies, our foreign relations, if there's any blockades or mission markers, and then our support limits. So we're at, for example, 30 billion for North America. They currently have one crewed vehicle, and they have one robotic explorer out there on the board. And so what that means, their limits here are 3 robotic explorers, 1 crewed vehicle, and 1 base. So they get 1 extra $1 billion for being under their base limit, and 2 extra $1 billion for being 2 under their robotic explorer limit. So there's 3 billion extra from their 30, and then they also have the policy that gives them +2 to production. So that's 5 more, so they get $35 billion. In the same way, Japan is making $28 billion. They're actually a little over their robotic explorer limit. Based on their policy tree pick, they've got +1 to their robotic explorer support limit. So they're actually at 2 robotic explorers, but they have 3 of them out on the board right now. But they are also 1 under their crew and base limit. Being over by 1 on the robotic explorer is 2 billion, so those cancel out, basically. So they're at 27 billion, and then they have free trade with Russia, which gives them 1 extra billion. And then coming over here to South America, their base is 26, and they're under a lot of their limits there, so they ended up making $31 billion. The other thing we produce at this point is research, but I will just add that in when we actually change all of the tech markers into tech for the pool. So much like I just showed on the faction boards next to the funds, there is also a number of tech points that each faction produces, in addition to the tech points that they have gathered out in the solar system. So at this point, we would also produce with our bases, but we don't have any bases, so we'll move on from that. Next up is resource transportation. Nobody has anywhere to transport or the ability to transport yet, so we'll skip that. It's 2040, so we don't roll for asteroids and pirates, but we still do roll to see if we add a non-player faction base, so we'll go ahead and roll for that. 82, that's going to be way out in the Neptune system, and the date written in the flyby box there is 2130, so it is not yet 2130, so no base is added yet. And then after that, we develop technologies. So at this point, what I will do is take all of the tech chits that we've collected throughout the decade, I'll add them up to the pool, and I'll come back with a final count for how many each faction has, and I'll go through which technologies they're going to pick. So after adding up all of the technology chits that they had all pulled, I've got the list here of what their pool currently looks like. So for biology, you can see North America's got 28, Japan 5, South America 11, physics is 15, 11, and 8, and then engineering 29, 78, and 38. So Japan really did quite well with the engineering. The stars there, just a note for myself as I'm playing through the round, what ones they're primarily focused on trying to get. So like Japan and South America were mostly looking for engineering, whereas Japan was looking for physics secondary, and South America was looking for biology secondary, and North America was looking for biology and engineering. The other number there are the number of politics markers they have left, 6 for North America, 12 for Japan, and 3 for South America. So what I'm going to do at this point is go through the tech tree. I'll probably do this off camera. I'm going to go through in initiative order one at a time and pick out which ones I think they would take at that given time. And then I'll come back with a final tally of which technologies they chose. Before I pick any technologies, I'll just show you where I'm tracking this. I've got a laminated one-page printout from Board Game Geek of the tech tree. If it's blue, that means it's North America, that they have it. Red is Japan, and green is South America. You can see North America started with a few technologies, and then both them and Japan picked up signs of life up there at the top throughout the decade. Okay, so the technology has been developed for all factions. Again, I just went through in order from reverse initiative order, so South America, Japan, North America, back to South America, and so on. And you can see that South America ended up getting the signs of life after the other two had already gotten it from finding signs of life out in the solar system. Everybody's improving their CV recall rate. Japan's not doing a whole lot with CVs probably in the future, at least in the near term, but they had a few points, so they decided to put them there. You can see North America went forward with base construction cost reduction and improved their recall rate down to 40. Over here in physics, we've got everybody now with 0.9 as their modifier, and everybody now can travel to the moon and near-Earth asteroids, and the North America is setting themselves up for resource transfer as well. And then down here in engineering, everybody wanted to get reusable launch vehicles. That seems pretty important. Both North America and South America can build all the way up to CV3s now. And you can see that Japan kind of went pretty far down the robotics tree. They now get +2 on the exploration roll for their robotics. And they have a very low malfunction rate. It's now 16% with their faction bonus. The next step after developing technology is settlement growth, but we don't have any settlements, so we'll skip that. And then finally, each faction gets one free policy. Japan and South America decided to continue down the tree that they were already on from the start of the game, so that gives Japan another robotic explorer. Really, they're looking for that last policy next decade to get +1 to their exploration. And South America is getting an extra politics marker, and they're interested in that three tech points per politics marker, again, next decade. The North Americans started going down the crew vehicle support limit. They're planning on having a lot of crew vehicles, and they cost a lot of money. at the end of each decade, because North America only has a support limit of 1 right now, so they're going to try to add to that as well. And so with that, that is the end of the 2030s. Thanks for watching. And technically, I guess we're in the 2040s now with the economics phase, but I think we'll do the economics phases at the end of the videos typically. And then starting next time, we'll get right into 2040, the build phase and onward. So thanks again for watching, and looking forward to the next one.